going to be recording this session as well. So again, if you want to re-watch it, just to go over anything, further details, please, we'll make that available for you. Like I said, there's a chat room element on the side. If you do have any questions that come up, or you want something repeating, or you're unsure on anything, please do not hesitate to say, could you just go over that again? We're here to help support you going forward and give you some good tools and advice to assist with your progress on this software. So, I haven't seen anyone else join. If they do, too late, they'll have to come on another one. So just a quick show and tell. Can everyone, you can just wave your hands like this. Can you hear me okay? Fantastic. Good, because I've got a good microphone this time. I've upgraded the microphone, so fantastic. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap over the screen, so you'll just see my computer screen from now on, and you should hopefully still hear me, and there shouldn't be any problems with that. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so there are some aims for the session today. Can you all see these aims here completely fine? Kimberly, can you wave for me? You're going to be my point of contact just to make sure. Fantastic, good. So we're going to be looking at how to build the Google Classroom. We're going to look at how to invite students to the Google Classroom. We're going to look at how to share and create posts from the student and the teacher perspective. And then we're going to look at creating assessment rubrics, because this is one of the new features that Google has added on the last few months, which is really useful for our marking. We're going to, oh, sorry, someone else has come in. We're going to look at how to set different assessment tasks using a Google Classroom. And then we're going to look at how we can use this to mark work, give formative, summative feedback. And then we also have linking the calendar to student assessments. And then I'm going to show you just some ideas of how to differentiate the Google Classroom. So this session is all about getting you set up, using the software so you can go forward. The next 3 sessions we have planned, we're going to go into a little bit more detail with the range of software that's available. And then we're going to look at how to link it all together. And then the final session is going to be kind of like an open Q&A, where we look at not just using this software, but some third-party software that we can bring into the Google Classroom. So we're going to look at Mentimeter, we're going to look at Kahoot, we're going to look at Padlet and how to embed them within our classroom, just to give some further options going forward. So hopefully that's okay with everyone. You okay with that, Kimberly? You're my point of contact, because I can only see you on there, so you're the voice of everybody. Okay. So what I'm going to do for today's session, on the screen with the black font at the top will be this one here with the black font. Can you see that, Kimberly? Fantastic, good. That is my teacher view. So the black one here will be teacher view. The silver one will be the student view. So every activity I'm going to do, you'll see it from the teacher view, which is that side, and the student view, which is the other side. Just if that's okay, if you could mute your mics, that would be much appreciated.
How can we record, please?
I'm going to record it because I've got the full Zoom account, so you have to have that. But it's going to be recorded and it will be sent over to you. Is that okay? Fantastic, good. So let's start off just by looking at it from the teacher view. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to classroom.google.com/h, and this will take us to the basics of the Google Classroom. Now, I've set up a few which I've run in the past. So I've got one for an English class I had here. I've got one for the training day I did a while ago, PGC Thursday, and BTEC Level 3. Now, on the basics of the Google Classroom, I can have up to 1,000 teachers and students. So if you do currently look after 1,000 students, this is perfect. If you've got 1,001, isn't going to work. So you've got to have under 1,000 students. If you have over 1,000 students, that's quite worrying. So what we'll do now, can you all see my screen okay?
I don't think so.
Ah.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, no, this is giving me, I'm going to blame this on rural technology. So now you can see it.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So what we're going to do here is, once I got onto here, I can create a class. There's a little plus symbol at the top right. So I'm going to create a class. Now, you can create one just very simply for what you're doing at the moment. And I'm going to give this a class name. So my class name for tonight is going to be, we'll just call this one Google Test Training. Again, it gives you lots of room, so I can say this is the Wednesday group. And this is just training. And then I can give it a classroom if you're in, which is currently my spare room in my house. Now, once I've created that, the great thing with it is it's not just going to partition it onto my screen here. It will also create for me, when you create this, you get a cloud. It's called Google Drive. So you get up to 15 gigabytes of storage space, and it automatically creates a separate folder for you. So anything that you do in your classroom will be shared to your drive. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. It's absolutely fine. So this is what your main classroom will look like. So you'll have the name of it. You can select a theme if you want. So, you know, if it's, let's go, say you're a maths teacher, there you go. You can put a lovely little protractor on there, and that's absolutely fine. Now, what you'll notice is the great thing with it, especially for the students, is that you more than kind of likely use this sort of software before. It looks very much like Facebook or any other social media post. So I can put things on here. Well, I can just say hi, and you know, I hope you had a good summer. I can post messages onto there for the students. So it can be just used as a kind of an open thing where I can have conversations with them. I can pose some questions about how their work's going, and they can reply to me. Now, what I can do here as well is I need to start adding students to my classroom. So at the top, I'm going to go to people. Now, at the moment, I don't have any students at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a student. Now for this, all I need from them is a Gmail account. So I've got one here, which I've set up. So I'm going to go Wrexham Learner 4 and invite. So what I've done there is I've now invited my student to come into the classroom. So what we're going to look at now is, this is from the student's perspective. So this is I've logged in here with Wrexham Learner 4, and I'm going to go from here to my Gmail account. So this is my student account. Yes, it can be hub accounts. It's absolutely fine. And the children can message each other, but I will go over that in a little bit of detail, as it could be a potential issue. I'll highlight why. So in my student account, I've had a little email here from my teacher, and they've said, they've invited you to join this classroom. So I'll say join. So once the student has done that and they've joined the classroom, I'm going to go back to my teaching account. Now I'm back on my teaching account. I'll just refresh the screen. And there we go. I've got my learner now on board. Now, once I've got the student on board, I can do a few things. I can email them privately. And then one of the other things I can do is I can set little actions for them. So I can, if I want to mute them, if they are saying indecent things online, I can mute them from there. I can email them or remove them from the classroom as such. But I've got my learner now and they're set on the classroom. So let's go back to my student account. So again, it's the silver one. So this is what the student sees. They see the message from me and then they get the message back. I had a great summer. Lovely. Wonderful. Now, I think one of the questions someone asked is, can the students email other students? What happens with this one? Because the message comes through the Google Classroom itself, what they'll find is that message is also saved on this classroom, which you'll have access to. So they can't send private messages to another student. You know, I know we have a few issues with some things being sent through, but they can't send it without you being aware of that being sent. We're also going to look at how you discuss things later on the collaborative work. So this student has now replied. So again, we can have some little bits and pieces there for us to go through. Let's go back to, I'm now in teacher zone. So I'm back on my teacher thing. Are we all okay so far with the different elements that have come up? We're all quite happy? Fantastic, good. So.
Live on both, please.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, sorry.
Talking to your dog.
No, my husband for a cup of tea.
I'm calling you babes.
Sorry.
So what we're going to look at now is we're going to set some classwork. It's our next step going forward. So again, it's the black screen at the top. We have here, I've just gone to classwork at the top. Now I can do a few things here. I can create an assignment or a question. I can set the topics into different modules or units, but I'm just going to create a very basic task. So I'm going to start by just creating an assignment. So an assignment, I can set them as just a small task. So I'm going to do this one, I'll call this one practice, I don't know, spag test or something, which you would do in your math class. In this next box, I can give clear instructions. Complete questions 1 to 10 of the worksheet. I can then add documents to it. So I can either add a file from my Google Drive. So if I have something I've saved already, I can upload a document. So say I want to upload this document here. I can add that document there for them. So again, if I've created it on kind of like a Word document, I can allow them to either view it, edit it, or make a copy for each student. So what we're going to look at next week is collaborative sharing of documents. And one of the things we can do is how we can play around with that. I can also add links to websites. I can add other files, so files from my own computer, or if I use iCloud or I use another OneDrive. I can also add links to YouTube videos, which I'm going to look at later on. So I've set the task for them. And I can mark this as points. Now this is where we're going to come to with use of the rubric. So say for this, there's a potential, there's 10 questions, so there's 10 marks. Well, actually, no, let's be nice. I'm going to give them 20 marks for it. I can set a due date. So I want it in for tomorrow at midnight. And then I'm not going to add a topic to it. I'm going to look at that later. But then I'm going to go to Rubric. And this is quite an important element for us to kind of play with. So I'm just going to kind of walk us through use of the Rubric. So Rubric gives the students marking criteria. So I can have, say I've got learning outcome 1. And that criteria is, I don't know, neat handwriting. And I'm going to give them, for neat handwriting, they can have 3 points. I can give them some details. I can give it set level. I'm then going to add another criterion. So learning outcome 2. And that's going to be, I don't know, answer the questions correctly. Again, the points for this, they're going to get 18 points for that because it's out, no, 17 because it's out of 20. Once I've done that, I'm then going to save the rubric. So I've got a rubric there that the students can see, so they can see where they're going to get marked. I've added a document for them to play with. I've given some instructions, and they've got a title. Now, I can set this for either the class I'm in now, or I can set it for specific classes as I go. Yes, you can add Word documents, Georgia, definitely. So if I've got it just for one group, I can add it just to one, or if I've got it differentiated for different levels, so maybe I've got a higher, an intermediate, and a foundation group, I can have 3 different classrooms for them and actually assign it to 3 different groups. What I can also do is when I have more students, I can either send it to all students, or maybe I send it to 5 of them, and then I set another task for another group of students as I go through. So once I've done that, I'm then just going to go to assign. And it works. So that has now been assigned. If we go back to the main page now, you'll see that there's an upcoming date with when the test is due, which they can view. There's a little notice on here, and that's going to inform them that there is some work coming forward. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the student page, and I will kind of look through that. So now I'm on the student page. As you can tell, it's a silver one. So this is what my learner will see. So my learner will now see exactly the same. They'll see they've got an assignment due, and they can click on this task. They can go, right, that's what I'm going to get marked on. That's my criteria. There's the instructions. Now, there's a great few things I like with this. Someone asked about, can the students talk about this? They can send a private comment to the tutor directly. So if they're having difficulty with question 1, they can send that directly to the tutor, and only they will see it, not the other students. So it allows that kind of private help with the assignment. They can also put a comment underneath, which is the whole class. So moving away from this, it allows this collaborative working together. So, you know, who else is using Word? Or, you know, and once they put that on there, every other student who also clicks on this assignment will see these questions, and they can give feedback and they can help each other. Again, this could be something that you could bring into the classroom, you could bring into the online learning, and actually get them to kind of support each other. Maybe you could do it as a forum to generate some thinking and some ideas. So what my students are going to do now, they're going to complete the worksheet, and then they're going to add their file. So once they've completed the work, they'll upload the file from their computer and they'll put it in that box. And once they're done, they'll just click mark as done. for this, what they would normally do. So that's it. They've submitted their work. Now, once it is submitted, they do have the ability to unsubmit it and kind of go back. So if they do have any issues, they'll be able to go, oh, I wasn't sure about that. If there are co-teachers, yes, you can add up to, I think it's 100 co-teachers on a classroom, and they'll see exactly the same as you. So that's absolutely fine. So my student has just submitted the work, given me a little private question. They've done some collaboration. They've seen the rubric that we've created. So now we're going to go to the screen share and show what does the teacher see. So here we are. We're going on to this. I can see the one class comment. And then when I go to the assignment, as the teacher, I can see that somebody has handed in. I can also see they've sent me a private message there. So there's the private message, which I can click on them and I can send them a message back.
When's texting me? Can you text in the middle of a lesson?
So I can send them a message back. I can also see the work that they've completed. So let's go to the one that's handed in. So I go to the one that's handed in, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark this work. So because I've created the rubric, all I can do is I can read it and I can just put a score in there. So they got 2 out of 3 for learning outcome 1, and they got 12 out of 17 for that section there. Now, once this is done, remember it's automatically saved. So I don't need to click save or anything. It saves it as I go. And there's their total score. And I can see all their scores down the side. So if I've got 10 students, I can see all their scores as they go. And then I can return it. Yep, I'm happy to return it to that student. So now I'm just going to click return. So that's now sent that work back to the student. So let's go back to see what our student will see. So we go back to the student screen. And they'll see, there you go, they've got their mark. So straight away, they've been given their mark. They got the response from the teacher. And they can go back to their classroom. Now, the great thing with this, again, that mark is personal just to them. They don't, nobody else will see it, just that learner there. So if they go to their classwork at the top, they'll see all their work that they've done over time. And they'll be able to see the score that they received as they go along. So the good thing with that is it keeps all of their work together. They can identify progress. They can see their practice as they're going forward, and that will help support them as they go along. Now, one of the things that will happen is as you add more and more of these assignments, on your main homepage, you'll see at the top marks. And what this will do is this will actually keep all of our assignments together as we go through. So here's the first assignment I've got. It'll tell me the class average. It'll tell me the learner's score. And it will do this for every task that I do as I progress. So it's quite a nice little system for us to kind of get through and play with. So how are we doing so far with this, guys? Any questions or queries at all so far?
No.
No? Oh, that's good. Fantastic. Okay, so let's look at what the next. I've got a full list here. So we're going to go back to our main page. Now, once the student has completed the work. One of the things I said about earlier was about keeping them organized, keeping them on track. So I'm just going to pop back to my student screen, which is here. Oh, I've got a few questions that are coming through. Let's have a look at these. So the children will only need to use the class code if you haven't invited them. So there is a class code, but that's only if you've not invited them. If they have multiple classes, is their work kept in different files? Yes, I'm going to show that right at the end if that's okay. And you can sort the assignments into subjects. So you can, and I will guide you through all of that now. So let's go to, this is my student page I'm on now. Now at the top right here, next week's session, I'm going to go over a lot more of the apps because Google's got hundreds of these applications that very few people actually go into, but they are superb. If they go to their calendar, it will actually log in here when their assignments are due. So you can use this as a nice way of keeping them engaged, making sure they're on track, and that reminder will hit them in their email as well. So again, if I go to my, this is my student email account, when it decides to load, you can see here that they got set the assignment from me, they got a returned comment from me, and that they had their assignment sent back. So again, you don't have to do anything. It will automatically generate it for you as you go along. So it is quite a good little tool just to help keep them kind of on track with everything. You don't have to keep reminding them. They will be supported as they go through. So some of the other activities that you can do with your students, what I want to look at is I can add different documents. Now, one of the things I like to use with a lot of students is try and jazz it up is little YouTube videos. So say I want to do it on, I don't know, they're going to learn about social discourse. I can add a YouTube video and then I can give them a question. So I can post that question on for them. So again, I can put in different bits of software for them to play with. And this is just an open one. So this isn't really an assignment. Now this one here, I've done it from the student's perspective. So the student has actually added this video on and the class can comment back and they can share. It's a great way of kind of generating ideas. I'm now going to go to the tutor's view. So here we go from the tutor. They'll be able to see that someone has shared a video. They can also delete it. So if they do think something's been shared inappropriately, you'll be made aware of it beforehand and you can delete it quite quickly. You can also, in the settings for this, I can actually set it so only the teacher can post or comment. So I can sort that out as well. So let's have a look at some other of the activities we can set. We're going to create another task now. This time I'm just going to put an open question. I don't know. What do you think of Pete's video? Now they can actually give either multiple choice, in which I can put these answers in. You can create these little mini quizzes for them, or I can set it where it's a short answer. So again, I can add another link to a YouTube video. I can add a Word document. I think I asked. And I can actually create a document. Now, one of the things you can do here is say I wanted them to create something based off a slideshow. Now, next week's session, I'm going to go into a lot more detail with some of the software, but I can actually add a Google template for them to use. So I can say, use this as a template to answer the question. Help if I actually spelt it correctly. I'll give this a name. And there we go. Again, it's automatically saved. You don't have to file or save anything. Now I can have this where they can edit it. They can comment on it. They can view it. I'm going to have it where they can edit it because I want them all to be able to write on this document. And that's it. It's all saved. So I'm going to close that down now. I'm going to allow the students to reply. I'll give them some points for this. Yeah, I'll give them 100 points for it. That's absolutely fine. And again, I can split this into topics. I think someone asked earlier about how can I split this into topics for them. I can do it by, say if I want this to be module 1, I can set it into individual topics for them in that case. And I want it by Saturday because they've got nothing else to do. They can work on a Saturday, that's fine. And there we go. I now ask this question. And that's gone out to the learner. So again, it's got its due date. They'll have the question there. It will automatically be uploaded to their Google Calendar. What we're going to look at in a minute is their class drive folder. So I'm now going to go back to my student view. So I go back to my student view. So silver at the top, which means this is my learner. And they'll see they've got another task already. So they can now go to this assignment. Oh, they can request the access. I'll give them access to the document actually. So let me just very quickly. And they can put their answer in there, so completed. And they can turn this in. Now the great thing as well with this now, because I set it where I allowed them to view each other's, they can actually see what their classmates created. So we can actually use this as an opportunity for peer assessment and collaborative learning. But unfortunately in this class, they don't actually have any other students, so fine. So let's go back to our teacher view. So I can see here, I posted the question. I've had one handed in. I can assign them some marks. So say I gave them 52, and I'll return that to the student. I can give them a private comment, so good work, but could do better because I'm harsh. And I'm going to return that to the student. So now I've done that. Again, if I go to marks on my first page, I'll see here, I've now got the second little task that I gave them put in. I can see their overall mark out of every module that they've done. That gives them an overall grade. And I can see how that helps. So I've got a few questions here. If they submit a hard copy, can we note that they've submitted and mark it, or do they have to submit online? It's all online for this. Now, if they submit it as a hard copy to you, you could always give their feedback online. That's absolutely fine. I can't see a problem with that. You may want to scan it in and send it, because what we're going to look at in a minute is how it saves it to its cloud. But this is a pure online sort of session. When someone's asked a great question, when students are commenting, how do you ensure they comment on your post rather than creating their own comments? Very much like Facebook, you add it one after the other after the other. So if a student did write it in the wrong place, I'd just copy and paste it and add it in underneath mine. Can you record voice memos instead of typing messages? Unfortunately, not at the moment. They haven't added that feature in. It's a much easier way of doing it, recording the voice memos, I can assure you. But at the moment, no, it's just typing for that one. So some great questions there. Thank you very much. So going back to where we are, this is my class average. This is my learner. I can see their work as they go through. Again, I can review all of the work they've done in the past. So you think how many little activities we've got as we go through, I can add those in. So the good thing for the learner, I'm going to go back now to, this is my student screen. It's got the silver at the top. Everything that they do gets saved on their Google Drive. And I think someone asked a question earlier about how does that get saved? So again, the top right where we've got the Google Apps, we can see they've got the Drive question, little section. Now this, it gives each student 15 gigabytes of storage. And when they join the group, it automatically creates for them a folder for Classroom. And then this will be separated into each of the classes they're part of. So my learner, he's part of 4 different classes. So again, if you've got him for geography or maths or music, it will be separated by those classes. So that's why the email address is really important. So we're going to go to the folder. And there you go. There's the first piece of work they handed in last time. And that's available. That's always going to be stored for them. So if they do any work, they can go back to that previous work that was set up for them. So that's always available. Okay. So let's go back to our teacher view. We're just going to look at a few more of the things that we can add to this section, to our classwork. Now, I can actually, if I've already created a piece of material in the past, maybe with a class from the previous year, I can actually reuse that post.
Great.
So if I go back to reuse post, say I had a worksheet activity that worked really well in another class. What I can do is I hit reuse class and it will find that activity for me. It's a little bit slow at the moment, so let's see if we can do that again. It's taking its time. So what you can see here are all the classes I've run myself. So if I'm going to go to, say, this class here, I can see a test that I've run with them before, and I can reuse that. So again, you don't have to keep redoing the same assignments and adding all the different features on. It's actually got it already created for me. I can add new instructions for my learners. I can add different files. Again, I may want to add a link. So say if I go to BBC News and I want them to research this topic. Now, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this URL, go to my link, and I'm going to paste that and add that link. So I may say to them, Find this, read this PDF or read this news article, see what you believe about it, give them a question. I'm going to give this one as a marked little test for them. I can create a rubric. What I can also do is if I've actually created one in the past, I can reuse it from another module. So if I wanted to reuse the one that I had for my SPAG test, or say you had it for a previous module, I can add that, and that's always going to be there for them. So again, you're not having to keep redoing the same thing over and over again, adding new material. Once you've created a good bank of material that's online, you can always have access to that. And then all I'm going to do is assign that to my student. So again, I've now got 3 activities I've put on there, all using different sort of software, different methods, and that's gone out to my student. If I go back to my student page, here we go, this is my student page. I can see the new assignment that they've set me. I can see my rubric of where I'm going to get marked, and there's a little link. So the student will click on that link, and that will take them to the web page I want to look at. Now, with one of the things that I always liked about Google Classroom, what I found beneficial, was that all of the software on this is free, all free to use and online. And I think sometimes there's a little bit too much pressure sometimes on, you've got to have the most up-to-date software, you've got to have the most up-to-date computer. The great thing is with Google Classroom, you can do this on an iPhone, you can do this on a tablet, it can be Android, it can be Apple, you can do it on a MacBook or on a Windows PC. It's not a problem at all. The good thing as well is all the software on here is all free. So what I'm going to do is next week, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with how to play with some of the software, but they can attach a file that they've actually done from their own work. So say if they've done it on Microsoft Word, they can attach that file. They can upload it from a Google Drive, or if you maybe, some of you may do WordPress or wikis with them, they can just send a URL link. That's absolutely fine. What we're going to do here is we're going to go to Docs. Now, Docs, if you've not used it before, what you'll notice is it looks very much like another piece of software. It's basically Microsoft Word. It's got all the same features, but it's kind of like a stripped down version. So for students who may not be IT savvy, it's a great tool for them to use because it gets rid of some of the unneeded elements on here. So they're going to just put in there they've written the lovely piece of work. And then all they do at the top is turn it in. So they can write the work. It's already attached for them, and they can submit it, and then they can turn it in. Now they can actually kind of put a lot more detail. It's absolutely fine. That's what you'd want. But the great thing again is as soon as it's turned in, it's automatically saved to the Google Drive. So again, if we go back now to, this is my student account. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive. So any work that they do, they can't blame them getting lost. There you go. That's the work that they've just created. So it's automatically saved for them. So they can't get it lost or anything like that at all. So let's go back to my teacher's view. So this is my teacher's view. Here's my learner. I can see straight away they've handed in a document. I click on that document and there you go. Now, again, the great thing is I've got their work here to the left-hand side, so I can see what they've written, and I can add little comments to it. So there you go. I can add a little comment for them. Now, what you can do as well is you can actually add comment banks. So I quite like the idea of having a comment bank that I build down there. So if I use well done quite a lot, I can just copy it in and I can paste my comments in. The amount of times I have to include this requires a citation on your assignment, I think I have it definitely saved in my comment bank. Again, I can give it marks based on the rubric, so they did poorly on that. I can give them feedback here as a question. It's automatically saved, and then once I'm happy with that, all I do is I click return. Yeah, I'm happy with that so far, and I can return that work. So now I'm just going to go back to my student view. Here's my classwork. Let's just refresh this. Ah, brilliant. So here's my student. They can see that my work was returned. They can see the grade. And again, if they click on that document now, what they'll be able to do is firstly upgrade from Firefox, but they can see that there are feedback questions on here from the tutor. So I can go to, where is it? Okay, I don't use Firefox. I need to update Firefox. But they can see the teacher comments on there. You can add them in. That's not a problem. So again, we're going to go back to my tutor view. So black screen at the top. This is my tutor view. Back to my classroom. And go to my marks. And there we go. There's my marks. Yes, they completed that task. That's what they got for the last one. And that's what they got for the spelling test as they progress. So it is a nice piece of software for the student. It's a nice way of them kind of getting used to building and collaborating together. For yourself, it's a good way of submitting work, marking it, getting feedback going forward. And it definitely will allow for a little bit more help going forward with this. So how do I get back to me? What I'll do now is if they redo their work, can you get rid of the comment boxes? Yes, you can click on the feedback that you've given, and you can actually delete the comments that you've made on their work. So if I have made comments on there, I can get rid of them. So I can delete the comment. That's not a problem for them. Okay. Do we have any other questions at all about this so far? No. Are we able to access a training classroom in order to have a play around with it? Yeah, of course. What I've got is Beth collated all of your documents together, all of your details. So we'll be able to, my intention is to add you all to a classroom. And then for next week's session, I'm actually going to be using some of the software on it and getting you to actually engage and answered back. So we're going to look at a few things. We're going to look at Hangouts, we're going to look at forms, we're going to look at documents, and we're going to look at collaborating them together. So how do you create a comment bank? Great classroom here. So all I would do for my comment bank is I click on comment bank and I'm going to add to bank. So I can put on here, so try harder, work. And what that does is it will create these 3 comment banks down the side. So again, if you've got things that you've used quite a few times before, you can just save them and then drag and drop them. Don't do it with school reports though, because they'll tell. You can always tell if people are doing that. Any other questions at all? I think there was a few there. Georgia, it's one of those things where the more you play with it and the more you practice with it, but the key thing is keep it simple. The students want to do the work, they want to send the work back, and they want to practice using it. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, if you want to do this with a class, just use the share button. So if you do have a class already, I would create the training room, and then I would invite the students myself, because this will then allow you to have a bit of access to who's coming into your classroom. What you can do if you wanted was you could actually just send them this code. So if you send the student this code here, so they're going to copy that code, and then all they would do is they would, I'm just going to change screen. So this is my, they're going to go to the home screen. So this is a home screen. The student can then just hit the plus symbol. And where it says join class, they just paste in your code that you've created. And what that'll do is that then accepts them into the group. Now, before they can join in the class, you'll get an email saying, will you be able to join this classroom? So that's the key thing going forward. We only have questions. Why using Zoom rather than Hangouts? It's mostly just because I use Zoom at the moment already. And Hangouts I'm going to be utilizing in the next session to show you how to use it. So I don't want to give away too much. I know a lot of people are using Zoom at the moment, so it's just really about making it accessible for everyone. Do all the marks show in the rubric? Yes, and you'll be able to see the marks as you progress in the rubric and go through. You'll be able to see that all the time. Are you just using Zoom to share your desktop? It is. It's a practical way of doing it, because I like to show the student view and the teacher view. It makes a lot of sense. Can you create a code for each assignment every time? So, with that question there from Georgia, it's a great question. If I go back to this is my teacher view. So when I set an assignment, so let's set an assignment again. What I can do, if I go to here on the right-hand side, this will put all of my students down here in a list. And I can actually select specific students who I want that assignment to go to. So if I have it differentiated at different levels, I can actually select those students who'll get that assignment only, and that's it. So I can separate it for each learners based on that. That's a great question, thank you. Have we got any more that coming through? No more. If you do have any other questions in the meantime, or you do have any concerns, get in contact with you, please. Beth, I'm more than happy to send my email out. That's absolutely fine. I'll answer any questions you have. Next week's session, we're going to look at a wider range of software that connects with the Google Classroom. So we're going to take it to the next level with regards to supporting our students. I'm going to look at using Mentimeter, Padlet, so some third-party applications. I'm going to look at Docs, Hangouts, Forms. We're going to look at making some quizzes. So it's just taking that classroom to the next level to boost it up for everybody. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully you've got a lot from it. I'll make sure you have a handbook sent out very soon.
Sorry, Julian. Can I interrupt? Do you mind? I'm only because I'm going to be sending out an email really, really shortly to everyone for next week's session, just to make sure that they know that they're whether or not they want to book on. But I've got 53 people in the room, including myself and Julian, and only 48 people have actually signed my register. So if you know that you haven't come back to me and told me that you're here, can you please do that now before you leave?
How do you do that?
Oh, in chat privately will do fine. You can chat me.
How? How?
Oh, I've got you, Beth, and that's fine because I can see your name.
Thank you.
But there are some people whose names didn't make sense, or there's more than one of you. So
you got me. Thank you.
Sorry, Julian. Thank you.
No, that's okay. Okay, guys. Well, thank you again for coming in. Hopefully you got a lot from that. Again, there's a lots of bits and pieces. Oh, I've got a few people who've raised their hand. Hello. But thank you very much, and I will see you next week, hopefully. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. Diolch yn fawr, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do I get out now? Is it just mute? How do I close it?
At the bottom right, you've got a leave meeting button.
Oh, right.
At the bottom
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bethan, is it Bethan Roberts?
I am Beth Roberts, yes. Who's
that's
talking to
okay.
me?
It's Satinder Smith. I've just messaged you privately, but I just wanted to double check. That's
yeah,
okay.
I've got you, Satinder. I marked you off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Message private.
Beth, did I sign in?
Who's?
Marina.
Yes, I've got you, Verena. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Beth, it's Andy Murdoch. Did I sign in?
Yep, yes, I've got you. So all the names that I could recognise, I've checked you all in, but I've got a few names that I didn't recognise.
Thanks a lot. See you next
I don't
week.
think I've signed in.
Who's?
I'm sorry, Ellen Waite.
Is it Elaine with E-L-I-N?
E-double-L-E-N.
E-double-L. I've got you, Ellen. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Have you got me, Beth?
Are you Karen or Karen?
Karen.
Karen. Yeah, I've got you, Karen.
When I signed up, I gave you a Gmail email.
Yeah.
Can we change that to our hub mail?
You can do, yeah. I can't do it on the screen I'm in. If you email me, I will